Welcome to the Founder Hour podcast. Before we get into the episode, just a quick word about our sponsor, Outer. You know I've raved about Outer before, and I love my Outer sofa, outdoor dining table, and chairs. I've had them for over a year, and let me tell you, they've been through everything from rainstorms to scorching sun and still look brand new. That's because Outer makes outdoor furniture that's actually designed for the outdoors. From using incredibly durable and sustainable materials to developing innovative solutions like the Outer shell cover, which protects my sofa and dining table against dust, debris, and dirt. No more soggy cushions or dusty tabletops. My Outer setup is always clean, dry, and ready to be enjoyed anytime I want. Head to liveouter.com/thefounderhour to see Outer's range of outdoor furniture, fire pits, and accessories. The Founder Hour listeners get an exclusive 10% off for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. So elevate your outdoor space with Outer. That's liveouter.com/thefounderhour. Here we go.
Yeah, I imagine that it inspires people to constantly,
Yeah.
get out there and make their own. But it's
great. Podcasting, I feel like it's one of those formats that, it's tough to tell like what a person's like on like a Twitter, for example, or on social media, right?
absolutely.
So when you hear someone speak, it's like, oh, that's who they are.
Yeah. Those little short bits of a idea, maybe sort of, taken out of context, and I think social media can be. I kind of like lean towards not being on it.
Yeah, I feel like you're pretty off of social media. Huh?
Yeah.
I was trying to like search and see. Like one photo on Instagram.
Yeah, now I do. I mean, in a deep way, I sort of just I sort of value the privacy more than I do sort of wanting to be out there showing everybody everything I do, and then like I'd prefer to talk about like what I'm doing with somebody I know or with somebody I don't know.
Yeah.
Rather than I saw you do this and I saw you were there, and it started to just, it felt weird to me. It felt weird to me that people knew so much about what I was doing, but thought they knew. Exactly. So it's like I was showing you that little thing, but like that was just a minor part of the story. It just like visually it was cool. Or I actually really love Instagram for what it sort of originated as, was like just visual content. And I think that part's cool, but I don't need to see people laying at a beach or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
I feel like these days
I
consume certain things, and like if you're really into like watches, for example, or cars, it's great. Yeah, because the algorithm just like feeds you that stuff,
which is great. I don't even know if I see probably 90% of the people I even follow anymore. Same. I just see like my interest more. So it's like mostly art.
Yep.
Some food I kind of actually I'm so deeply interested in food, but I just don't need to see endless pictures of food.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to.
The one that I think the one that always gets me is like, I cannot be on social media on Thanksgiving Day. It's like, come on, everybody knows what this looks like.
Right.
It's like
that and like for the 4th of July with all the fireworks.
But I love when you find somebody that like has gone somewhere far and away that you may have never even heard about or imagined, and then you discover this thing, and it's something that's right up your alley. So that part I really love. And the visual aspect, like I said, photography, art, I love that.
Have you always just been into that?
Yeah, I've always kind of been into that side of things, just out of a personal interest. I've sometimes we try to tie it into work, but we're not all the same, so we all kind of visualize things a little bit differently. But from my perspective, I try to bring that quality to it. Yeah.
It seems like there's this correlation between art and food. Like a lot of chefs these days, maybe not like 4 decades ago, but these days have like this artistic side or interest in art, right? Like, where do you think, I mean, I know at some point food went from being just like this thing that we eat, right, just to live, to being like an artistic form of, expression in a way, right?
Yeah, it's definitely an expression.
Yeah.
It definitely reveals your personality and what you love. And it's in its sort of purest form. I think making food is maybe one of the most honest and sincere forms of art.
For sure.
It's because you're doing it for other people, most likely. Rarely are, chefs getting credit for cooking for themselves. There may be a part of it in the idea of what you want to make, but you want to make it for other people to enjoy. And as far as I think people are starting to understand chefs more and want to know a little bit more about chefs, as opposed to what I think you're referencing is like chefs are behind the closed doors, back in the back. It's like we're the help, we're the servants, we're the people that are, making your night, but we don't want to be seen. Mm-hmm. It's like the image of a chef and is becoming sort of like, more and more something that people look at. People constantly compare it to rock star stuff, but I don't know if it's really. But
there's this like celebrity status for like chefs these days, where it's like if you have a really popular restaurant, everyone knows you and everyone wants to come and see you and talk to you, and you have these like documentaries now and all these like shows, and there's just so much in that scene, which I love to see it, but it's like somewhere along the way it became, like you said, like just someone in the back just cooking to. Someone that everyone looks up to, admires, like, wow, you created a great restaurant. And in a world where there's so many restaurants, like you stand out type of thing.
Yeah, I think the personality of the chef, and then it's a tough balance. And I think that, Jon and I have definitely tried to like move the other direction and sort of have like now the name of Jon and Vinny's is, more famous than Jon and Vinny.
Yeah.
Which is important to us.
Yes.
Because there's no reality in showing up at Jon and Vinny's and seeing Jon and Vinny in each location at all the time.
Yeah.
And I think like, Wolfgang Puck has this sort of thing where it's like, how's this guy everywhere? Like, are there 100 Wolfgang Pucks? I
had him on the show. I think I spoke with one of them.
Yeah. I think like somehow he is everywhere all the time. But he's one of the most iconic celebrity chefs, sort of on the forefront of it all. With TV and doing CPG and all that kind of stuff, and then obviously having great restaurants. I think that that's something that may be hard for a lot of these guys to balance these days. Is being really great at restaurants and doing restaurants really well and running great businesses that are also received well by the public, and then being a celebrity chef is a very hard thing to do because they. A lot of times each take a lot of focus and a lot of time and attention from that individual. And regardless, you have to, if you're a celebrity, you got to be on camera and you got to do all the interviews and the photos and all the things. It's like, you got to be there. They actually need you there.
Right.
And for a business, it's the same thing. It's kind of like they need you there. You need the input. You need to constantly work on systems and things that will enhance and make the business better for everyone, for the customer and for the employee.
Right. I want to talk about systems in a bit because the system at Jon and Vinny's is one of the best I've seen.
Because we're always like, this shit's so unhinged.
Hey, it works. Whatever it is.
No. We put a lot. We had a lot of great people. And we, we're I would say, if you ask people that work with us, it's like we're just relentlessly on the gas.
Yeah, you guys are, and like it seems like everyone's just. I'm sure it's tough back there sometimes, but seems like everyone just like loves it.
Yeah.
The environment.
It's still a restaurant. I think like no matter all the things that you do, in the end of the day, there's something that just like it needs to get done and needs to happen. Like we got to seat the table. They got to get there. Like the, that moment that you can't predict of that perfect storm of things happening, it's all of it. And then there's some days where things just flow perfectly and all the things are working cohesively. It's like, we're trying to study right now the sort of rate at which call outs happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we start to kind of like really analyze and pick apart parts of the business.
Yeah.
Is what we kind of do is we start to like extract it and sort of say like, what's this one piece look like for us? What's that hour? What's the hour between 9 and 10 look like? Labor versus sales, things like that. Are all things that we never really focused on 17 years ago when we opened Animal. We were about just making good food and trying to have good service in a fun place. And it's very much of the spirit of the age we were at, but now we're in this place where we have to keep these businesses going and we've got a lot riding on it, investments, things like that. And the systems are really what it comes down to, and how you can kind of take apart and analyze each part of it and say, how can we get better at this?
Right.
And I think is really something we study now a lot is what we do is we take it out and say like, this is this one thing. How do we get better at that?
Were you always like focused on, I feel like it's a very efficient system. Like when you sit down, and it's not like this in a lot of places where, you order and, the the waiter or waitress immediately will say, well, we bring it out like as soon as it's ready, not like in the order that you ordered, type of thing.
Exactly.
And that obviously is like a whole system that you've created. When did that, how did that idea even come to you?
It came to us really kind of like how we like to eat. I don't really want to wait, drags. You're waiting for, a lot of times what you do if you get these first, second, third course kind of things, you're waiting for actually a server to be engaged with your table,
right,
and then to be able to fire what they call fire the food, or make the order start to get processed, right? And if for some reason there's a little bit of like a snag, their focus gets on a table that's got more wine on their table, service, to ask for something, I want extra drink, drop my fork, whatever it is, they get distracted, anything that could potentially happen slows that process down. And we've all been caught in that sort of thing where it's like, why is the food taking so long? Well, a lot of times it goes back to the control of the server firing and making sure the flow of your table is happening properly. So we put all the food in, and then the kitchen dictates as it kind of needs to happen. Like, and depending on the pace of the restaurant too, they will sort of dictate when they call those things out. So if the restaurant's really full, they'll start putting things on back, and they know that they got to kind of fire that down the road. But it's really kind of in control of the chef on the timing stuff. And we're always looking at the bottlenecks there too. Like, what does slow us down? What keeps us going? Sometimes if you go in and it's really slow, you could feel like that the food's coming too fast to you,
Yeah.
But
I think my record time is like 20 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
Just like walking in, eating, walking out.
Which is great. If you want that kind of situation. And then like sometimes people do want to take time and that's why we always kind of say it first. It's like, if you do want us to go a little slower, let us know. So, public announcement here. It's like, if you do want us to go,
secret menu.
Yeah, exactly. Secret menu.
Option.
Yeah. If you do want us to slow it down, we can slow it down for you. But people, we kind of, in a weird way, and we've always talked about it as like, there is this sort of diner aspect to what Jon and Vinny's is. It's all day. People kind of overlook the breakfast a lot. Press hasn't talked about it as much.
I have yet to try it.
You've yet to try it. People just don't, the fusilli, the pizza, the environment, all the things like kind of have really overshadowed breakfast. But breakfast, the room is beautiful during the morning. The light that comes through a lot of the rooms.
Was that by design?
Yeah, by design. The architect that we work with really loves the natural light, and obviously being here in California, and we get a lot of really beautiful natural light. So that part of the space is very, very soothing, very calm in the morning. The music's different in the morning. We try to lean more towards jazz and
nice,
blues and things like that a little bit. And then the breakfast leans heavy, sort of American. It's pancakes, a BLT, and it's kind of like the versions of the way you wish it tasted everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you're going to get pancakes anywhere, if you stopped in anywhere, it's like, this is what I want pancakes to taste like. BLT, same thing, we have a couple breakfast pizzas just for those adventurous sort of people out there that want to kind of share something. But it's a good breakfast to get slept on. I think
breakfast is my favorite meal of the day.
You should check it out.
I got to check it out.
Go check out the new location. It's close. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the better versions in LA for classic sort of breakfast. And a good room, a good room to have a meeting.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, on the weekends it gets crazy. Yeah, especially towards that towards that brunch hour.
Oh yeah.
Where people that know, they also know
they love their brunch.
They love their brunch vibe, but they also love some people that have like the hack of Jon and Vinny's. What they do is they come in and because we don't really offer a brunch menu.
Yeah. Do they come in right before the cutoff?
Exactly. They come in right before the cutoff.
Order the breakfast.
They order some breakfast items that they want to have, and then they tie it in with some of the lunch items they want to have. And it's pretty amazing to see.
That's awesome.
People really go in like that in the morning.
Yeah.
It's probably their only meal of the day after they eat like that.
You could really let loose there. So I want to kind of take it back a little bit. Just talk about your upbringing in a way and kind of learn a little bit about what that was like, because I'm sure that ties in a lot to what you're doing now. So
yeah. I was my family is not 100% Italian, but my dad's side is. And I was raised by my father mostly.
Is that in Florida?
In Florida. And grew up in a sort of, environment there was a lot of cooking. It wasn't always Italian American, but a lot of times it was. There were things that I absolutely hated growing up, like broccoli pasta. Like I hated it. And it's funny, my kids love it. I love it now, eons later. So I was kind of raised in that environment. And then kind of the pizzerias and the Italian American food I ate out at night or after a baseball game was very much in lines with what Jon Vinny's does. One of my favorite places that I used to go to as a kid had lots of, sports memorabilia in it. And it was like the old like T100 sort of wood paneling, like basement vibe, like that dark sort of corrugated, and just like red booths, just all the things, the red Coke cups. Like it was that. And I think when Jon and I and Helen sort of went to go do Jon Vinny's, we were like, we got to steer this in a little bit of an art direction with like sort of the design and the feel. And like, that's a good feeling. I like that feeling, but I just think it's been done so many times that we just wanted to kind of bring it into a new light.
Like a more modern twist to it.
A more modern twist, but we didn't want the food to get too modern. Because we had done fine dining, we had done fine dining working for other people.
Right.
And then ourselves, we kind of tried to like shake some of that stuff with Animal and Son of a Gun. And then we partnered with Ludo and did Trois Mec and Petit Trois. But Petit Trois, we really shook some of that out there too. But Trois Mec was very formal. And I think when it came time for us to do Jon Vinny's, we knew in our hearts that we really wanted something that felt like us on an everyday.
Yeah.
Like where would you want to go every day all the time? Like you could go to Jon Vinny's and have 10, 12, 15 different kinds of experiences with the food. You could go in there and eat.
Yeah.
You could go in there in the morning and eat granola and go back in the afternoon and eat a tuna Brentwood.
Yeah.
And come in at night and eat an aglio olio and you'd feel light on your toes still. You could go the other direction and eat.
Totally. Would you say it was like a natural evolution or process for you as a chef to, kind of, going through culinary school and then thinking, okay, I need to go and work in fine dining and get that experience to then coming to, because, a lot of, you allude to like the diners of the past or like that vibe from the past, and those people are not classically trained chefs. They're just sort of, cooks in the kitchen most of the time, I think. Most of the time. And so, when you go to Jon Vinny's, the food is fine dining food. Like the quality of the food to me, like when I eat the like the chicken cutlet, for example, I'm like, I haven't had this at a fine dining restaurant, like this good of a chicken cutlet. So you get that like quality of the food,
exactly.
But the vibe is like just you walk in, there's a hip hop music playing, it's just super chill.
People are wearing t-shirts,
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I think the fine dining that myself, Helen, and Jon, we all experienced previously informed what Jon Vinny's is, but we knew and still know how to shake some of the formality out of it. I could tell you a million things about the chicken cutlet that are the reason why it is the reason why it is good.
I need to know how you make
and then there's reasons why it can't be good too. And like, I know all of those, and that's from just deeply being involved and studying it, so like, the way it starts with the quality of the chicken, we've gone back and forth on sort of the producers and stuff like that, but it's always like some sort of organic, air chilled, free range, so, top tier of what you can buy in that spec. And it's hand pounded. We've explored machine, and it's tough. It doesn't give us the same result. We're trying to just like, it's all these like, in life, it's like walking that fine line of everything, just trying to be like that, perfect version of yourself.
Well, in a world where we're so consumed by like robots and AI and like the whole revolution, like, the fact that pounding chicken, is still done better by a human.
Yeah.
Which is one of those things where you're like, that would be the first thing to get automated.
Yeah. And exactly. And we do want to become more efficient.
Yeah.
And I think like we think about those things, but if it's not going to be a like for like, And if it's not going to go up, it's not going to say, hey, this is actually better, or this is a better version, or it's an improved version. Efficiency sometimes, or even cost, sometimes gets thrown out the door because the quality doesn't end up being as good. We've experienced this with printing pizza boxes, just like something so simple that people just look at and they're like, that's Jon and Vinny's pizza box. But we noticed
the color,
the Pantone color, the quality of the corrugated cardboard. Like, there is intention behind every single detail of that place. Everything. We decided everything, placemats, napkins, silverware, like you name it. But the chicken cutlet in particular, I love the chicken cutlet. I love that you called that out.
It's my favorite.
It's my favorite thing to eat because I can eat them all the time. I love.
You just don't have chicken like that. And I love. You kind of eat it, and you're like, the crust of it, is this fish? Is this chicken? Like,
I love
this thin.
It's thin. The funny thing about it, I mean, because we're talking about the positivity of it, and like it's really about, like, if they do it properly, and it's like it's been pounded right, it's been breaded properly, it's been fried at the right amount of time, it's been seasoned well, and sort of the garnish is all at top quality, it comes out amazing. Yeah. But the other side is that, and we've seen this and experienced, and sort of these are the sort of things that people don't really get to see, or they do see them, and it's unfortunate when it does happen, is that, like, we over prep them and we pound too many of them and we bread too many of them. And weirdly, one of the little things that we noticed is that over time, if they sit for over a day breaded, that the breading starts to almost like cure the actual chicken. Wow. So it starts to dry it out. Yeah. And almost makes it, and it, like, well, believe it or not, will even keep the meat like a pinkish color when cooked. So then people think it's underdone. Right. Yeah. But it actually comes out drier. It's this weird thing that kind of happens.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a little bit of Parmesan cheese in the breading. Yep. And it makes, there's salt in Parm, right? So it starts to actually cure it. And so we have to, it's a balance, of like when to do them, how much to do of them, because we always want it there for the customer. Yep. Right. One of our top selling dishes, it also translates into chicken Parmesan for us. Yep. It's the same chicken cutlets, just
that one's one of my favorites too.
Yeah. If you really,
I have these like favorites that I always order. I'm like, one day I need to walk in and try something different. But
that's okay.
I love.
No, but that's what restaurants are there for, right? True. It's like you love it for a certain reason. It's like I go to Houston's Hillstone Restaurant Group. That's R&D. I go there all the time. It's like 90% of the time I'm getting the French dip.
That French dip. That French dip is so good.
It's insane.
I don't know how they do it. They've been consistently good for a long period of time.
I kind of know how they do it. I can kind of figure it out.
But the consistency is like not something you see often. Like my parents' generation used to go there, and like they
should
when they were younger. You know what I mean? It's like, and then
our
like
kids all go there.
Yeah,
yes, they should. It's to me, it's the greatest American restaurant that we have. Yeah. It does the American fare that people want, and they do it at the highest level, and they execute it at a very high level. I've gone,
Have you had the Hawaiian short rib?
Oh yeah.
You've gone a lot.
I've gone a lot. I study it. I really do. John and I study it. Yeah. I think I go more than anybody though. It's
nice.
Yeah, I'm there all the time with my kids. I know they're like the rules. Like the other day I went. Yeah. John and I had to go do a job up. We had to go cook a dinner up in Napa, and before the server could even say it, she was like, "Sir, we asked," and I like literally just took my hat off. I was like, "I come all the time," I was like, "I know." Some of their rooms they ask you to take their hats off. Some of them they don't. Yeah. Every now and then it just depends. They go back. They've gone back and forth. I like when you go back to a place and you can see that they're toggling these ideas of how to make it better.
They're still like a work in
even
progress.
Them. Yeah. It's like I've seen them. I don't know if you go enough to notice this, but they season their fries with this like special seasoning, and then they started offering it on the side,
like when you get the
and now sometimes you have now sometimes you have to ask for it. Yeah, so they kind of are like it's like, do we do it or do we not do it? Do we like it better like this? Do we like it better like that? It's sort of like you have to be obsessed with it to kind of go through all those steps. And I think that's kind of what we are. We're just sort of obsessed with making this thing like as great as it can possibly be.
Okay, listen up. It's 2024. Are you still using your personal phone number for your startup? One of the most common founder mistakes I see is using your personal phone for business. OpenPhone has completely rethought every detail of what a business phone should look like and do in 2024. OpenPhone makes it super easy to get business phone numbers for your whole team. It works through a beautiful app on your phone or computer and integrates with CRMs like HubSpot and Salesforce. It's the #1 business phone on G2 for customer satisfaction with over 1,700 reviews. And here's a feature that I love personally. With OpenPhone's AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, you can have a summary of your phone call with action items right when you hang up. No more note-taking or forgotten to-dos. What's more is that every employee that's sharing that phone number with you has access to it too. Total recall across your entire team. OpenPhone is already affordable at a starting price of $15 per user per month. But for a limited time, the Founder Hour listeners can get 20% off for 6 months. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. Head to openphone.com/founder to start your free trial and get 20% off.
So you and John met in culinary school.
John and I met in culinary school in 1999.
99. And then you guys just clicked and you started working together.
We clicked. We clicked and we were competitive with each other. I think that's something that a lot of people also don't talk about is that, like, you know, John and I are, you know, a healthy competition with each other. Yep. You know, like it's, you know, we always kind of want to push each other to be better, to think better. And I think like, that was part of our relationship, but also part of the rise to the, you know, our sort of success is, and sort of people are like, how do you make it work so long? Well, I think a lot of it is just that, is that we've had the same ride. And you know,
I'm assuming you guys wanted the same thing. Like,
I think that
sort of,
yeah, I think at some sort of base level, absolutely. Yeah, right. You know, we absolutely, like, we wanted to open a restaurant and we wanted to make it great. You know, like we wanted to do things that were like, felt like us. And, you know, every decision, like a plate, a silverware, a thing, a glass, you know, we have different ideas about what we like, you know, paint color, whatever it may be. And it can be a push and pull. There's there's good discourse with it. It's like, it's, you know, sometimes it gets, you know, I think as we've gotten older, we tried to like extract the emotion out of it and not get too tied to something and sort of be open to all the ideas and ways. But now we incorporate so many other people in sort of the ways that we kind of have to do things. But yeah, I think it's like we had the same rise. And I think like money was never a thing where we got sort of, you know, I came and invested this much money. You came and invested this much money. It was sort of, everything was equal all the time. And I think like money is one of those things that's a great divider for relationships, no matter which way you cut it in life. And we've never let that get in the way.
How?
You know? How? Because it's been the same all the time. It's like, we're all contributing. We're all trying to do this. We're all pushing hard. And like, the money doesn't, we try to never let the money get in the way, and the money comes and goes. You know, it's like there's good years, there's bad years, there's ups, there's downs, there's a lot of it. And I think it's nice to kind of have somebody else to go through it with, you know, be honest with you. Now we have Helen involved. We do have a financial partner that helps us get everything off the ground. And we've been able to stick with that partner too for over 18 years now.
Wow.
So so John and I knew each other for a few years, then we found this partner.
Yeah. Well, so you guys worked at restaurants, and then at some point you started.
We worked at restaurants together in Florida. We worked at some together and some separately. Okay. We were both working 2 jobs and going to school.
Yep.
You know, we had to pay for everything on our own, apartments, extras, whatever we were doing. Our parents weren't floating us, and we were still having a good time though too in between it all. And I think like, we bonded over having some similar stuff in our backgrounds of childhood. We grew up surfing, skating, you know, punk rock music, hip hop. We were just like into all that stuff. Both growing up in Florida, opposite coasts, similar friend groups. So we bonded over that stuff. And then we both loved cooking and loved service, loved the restaurant culture, all that stuff. That was kind of the intros. And then we also, I think, the other thing is too, is that, you know, in our early age, you know, when we were in, you know, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, it was like we were full-time work, full-time school.
Yeah.
It was relentless. And we kept that attitude up all the way until, now. It's like we just are constantly at it. We don't really, I mean, I think you can see from our timeline here just in LA of like what we've tried to do, from starting the catering company to starting Animal to then Son of a Gun to then Twamec, Petit Trois, Jon Vinny's. Then we did Kismet Rotisserie, Trois Familia we threw in there.
Yeah.
Which was fun. And weird. And then we just have kept at the Jon Vinny thing, and we've shaken off and separated from some of the other partners, from Ludo and from Kismet. And we've kind of taken a turn, we've closed Animal.
Was that a matter of just wanting to focus on what's working best?
It's a matter of in relationships. I think relationships are hard, and they proved just to be hard in tough times.
Yep.
And the pandemic challenged everybody in the world. And then in our small little world that we have, it challenged our group, and we had some real different views on how to handle things. And it ultimately broke the relationships up.
Yeah.
And
but it seems like that was also.
I think we were ultimately like, we felt good about it because we did it, and if this was the better route and the partners felt like this was the better route, then let them go do that.
Yeah.
And see the other lawn, like, sure, like if you don't like the way we do things and you think somebody else is going to do it better, then I don't want to stop you. I don't want to make it hard and painful. So we just did it. We separated, and like, I honestly like wish them the best. I hope that they're doing well. I think that we think that they're very talented and smart individuals, with why we got behind them, believed in, love the food they make, all that stuff. So, but I think now we do see that as we keep getting older. I just turned 45 the other day. It's like you only have so much time to do this in the game.
Yeah.
And like, how do you set yourself up in a way where you're not, 65 and broke and in debt and you've closed all your restaurants? And I think that that's a story that you hear too often in our industry. And I think back to that thing about it's still a restaurant, no matter how many stories you hear or shows you see or podcasts you may hear. It's like, in the end of the day, a restaurant still is a restaurant, and there's this exchange that needs to happen, right?
Yeah.
And doing that dance, some people, they dial it in, they control the hell out of it, and like they, especially in the fine dining side of things.
Yeah.
It's those environments are very, very, very controlled. Whether you like it or not, it's like up to you. But there's a reason why the dance seems so seamless and why it's practiced so well. It's like they allow the time and the space and all those things. So it's like we kind of try to like I said, we're on that sort of we lean it towards like somehow there's some of this like essence of fine dining mixed into this like diner, and like it's still a restaurant. There's still going to be problems. There's still people. There's still all these things that are involved in it.
And then the concept of Helen's, does that help in terms? I mean, you hear like how alcohol really helps, when it comes to business and keeping things going. Is that part of the reason, or you just wanted to have like this like alcohol element to it?
Helen was more because I would say Helen because she was our main person. She became a partner because she was our main person she kind of really brought Animal into its sort of, heyday.
Yeah.
She was the manager there, and then sort of showed how much she could, command in sort of the wine side of things, and then sort of the service side of things. And then we moved her into a director of operations role. And then at that point, she wanted to like do something more.
Yeah. And
we were about to open the Jon Vinny's, and we kind of had the space, and we knew we were going to do something with it. And you need wine storage, right? And we were like, hey, what if we take this? We have a permit there at that space that allows us to do, sales for to go,
right?
For beer and wine to go. And we sort of proposed the idea to her, and she was, lucky for us, she was excited about it. And does it enhance the restaurant? Absolutely, because we have such a strong mind in the wine world as part of Jon and Vinny's. And she, I think, overall enhances sort of the Jon and Vinny's experience, and she brings a lot to the table. She has a lot of great ideas, and she's, I think a real pro, and I think like beyond the wine, operationally, all those things, I think she really enhances all of that. Also nice to kind of bring the female energy into it.
For sure.
And I love and respect her, all the way through and through. Is it, financially that much better? I don't, it's hard to say. I think she was on the forefront of sort of these wine clubs and doing the wine, sort of memberships and things like that.
It certainly attracts a certain audience too.
Yeah, it's cool. Like she was on the forefront of all that stuff and has been good for us. But it goes in waves too. People like the way, depending on trends and things like that. And, COVID obviously and sort of inflated a lot of that because people were at home. But it wasn't just a sort of financial grab by any means. This is our Jon and Vinny's in Studio City is our first one with full alcohol. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing sort of what that does in terms of how it works in service, how we work it into the service that that side of things is like sort of a hurdle we're getting over right now. We've been open for 3 weeks and sort of just understanding how it is to the timing of making cocktails for the table. It's like, you don't want that food showing up before you get your first drink and how long they take and what's the things that people are gravitating towards with drinks, obviously like it's really interesting going into sort of the mindset of how people order now is different than the way they used to. Now it's like, it's people like will strictly order off of someone else's order or how that, TikTok thing showed whatever it showed you or Instagram.
You got to go here and get the Aperol spritz.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. Yeah. It's like not just decision making on your own.
Yeah.
So like seeing what's trending in here and what's, time of the year, seasons, things like that.
Yep.
So she has to predict a little bit of that with the wine buying and now with the alcohol. So there's some stuff that we're still learning now with that. But I think alcohol itself helps restaurants more than wine and beer do. I think if even in terms of sales, in terms of
spirits,
in terms of money, I think I think that those things help probably more than wine and beer does.
Yeah.
We haven't done too many bars.
Yeah. I know that was the first thing I noticed when I walked in. I was there on Sunday, the Studio City, and I was like, oh wow, there's a whole bar here. I don't think the other ones have
no, they don't.
There's bar seating at the Fairfax location, but that's just for the food, right?
Fairfax, you can sit in front of the we call it counter seating. Counter seating for Fairfax, Brentwood, and
Beverly Hills.
Ladera Heights.
Oh
yeah, Slauson.
Mm-hmm.
We switched that to the Expediter being on the outside of the counter now at Beverly Hills and then Studio City. So we're within that, like I'm saying, we're moving ideas and toggling sort of these things that we kind of like, how can we make this better and more efficient and what's better for sort of the management and how they use the space and work within the space and then the customer and how they use it. I know that we took away the counter seating. Some people love the counter seating. Some people would be like, I don't want to sit at the counter. It's too hot near the pizza oven or whatever it is. It's like you can go back and forth on that stuff all day.
If it's me or if it's me and one other person, I always love sitting at a counter because you just get a different experience sitting in front of especially like at a sushi bar or something.
Yeah, there's a little more entertainment.
Yeah.
It's visually appealing.
Yeah. So at some point, you and Jon, when you made your way to LA, were you guys the personal chefs for Harrison Ford? I think I read something like that.
No.
Or you just cooked for him?
No.
Is that fake?
We had no, it's not fake news. No, it's not fake news. We moved out here on a whim. We were living in Vail, Colorado. We had followed a chef out there that we sort of loved and admired and respected. And he was the fine dining chef at a restaurant and a hotel. And we were living there and we just didn't love it. We didn't fall in love with it.
It's a different lifestyle up there, huh?
Different lifestyle, and wasn't what we were looking for at that time in our life. It's a beautiful place. It was incredible. It was gorgeous. It was but so expensive too, even at that time.
It's a nice place to visit, but I don't know about living
and
full
expensive to visit, but pristine. You know, it just one of the most beautiful places ever. And we knew it wasn't for us and it wasn't going to take our career where we wanted to go. So we stayed for his ski season, helped him do the restaurant and learned a ton. He was an incredible chef, great technician, great composition of food, beautiful stuff. And John's aunt lived in the valley and he was like, I think we can go crash on her, couch. We were 21, 22 years old and we can get out there and she'll let us stay there and kind of, get us set up. And this was when you had to like fax resumes in, and we to date myself here. So John and I were sending our resumes out together to people, and we had like almost locked in. I had some friends down in San Diego, and we had locked in this job as sous chefs. Yep. We were looking kind of to step up our positions in kitchens, and we locked into this sous chef roles in this in Rancho Santa Fe, very wealthy, nice area of sort of San Diego County, and I think it's San Diego County. I know somebody's going to be like, it's not San Diego County,
somewhere out there.
Yeah, it's somewhere down there. and then the guy came in, like literally one of the first meetings, and he wanted to do like sort of Asian fusion, let's just say. And the first thing he said to us was like, okay, we're gonna have like this. He went through this like roll call of like things he wanted on the menu. One of the first things was like breadsticks, and I was just like, what does this guy mean by breadsticks? And I was like, you know what? I can tell right now that this is not going to be for us.
Yeah,
I don't want to do it. So we just like we threw in the hat before we even got going. We were like, we shouldn't do this. Yeah. You should hire other people. This isn't what we want to do. So we came back up to LA, and sort of we were broke and jobless.
And the whole time you guys are on the same page. You're like, this isn't what we
we were on the same page. We were broke, jobless, and like we were aiming actually at San Francisco. We were going to leave LA. Yeah. We were like, you know what? Maybe LA is not for us. And we were going to like maybe go. And then there was an ad in the paper, I think, and it was for a fine dining restaurant in Beverly Hills. And we sent in our resumes. My fax made it through, and they called me back and I was like, hey, did you get my buddy's fax too? He's like, he sent in his resume as well. And they're like, no, we didn't get it. Send it through. And they're like, your partner grew up the guy who you're cooking with, like grew up in Ormond Beach, Florida. Like my wife grew up in Ormond Beach, Florida. And he's like, come in for the interview. And we both go. And I think like at the time for these people, it was like, really strange.
Yeah.
And it was like two kids showing up for one interview and they wanted the same jobs. And we wanted to work together. And it must have been weird, looking back on it, it must have been like, this is strange. Like I've never even heard of this before.
But like when you think about the camaraderie of a kitchen, like kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah,
like,
it absolutely does. But I don't think to them in the moment it was like, well, no, I think they were just really surprised that these two kids wanted to work together in the same restaurant, the same hours, all the things. Not maybe not the same stations, but we're willing to kind of do whatever.
Yeah.
And we took the interview, and we had seen the product they were working with and did a trail. And I think we went to the farmer's market, and the chef and the sous chef, or the two they were co-chefs. It was Ben Ford and Govan Armstrong. And Ben Ford is Harrison's son.
I didn't know he was a chef.
He's a chef.
Oh, wow.
And a great person. And basically they were kind of coming off of 9/11, sort of, downturn of economics and all that stuff. And they were trying to sort of revive their lunch business, and they needed cooks to do that. And there was one other guy, and there was John and I, and we basically ran lunch service. And, we were performing at a very high level. We kept everything. We held it down. We made sure the quality was great. We had all the integrity we have now. We always kept that with everywhere we worked, basically walked in one day and they were like, we got bad news. The restaurant's going to close. And John and I were like, we have no money. We have nothing. What are we going to do? And Ben was like, I'll help you guys out. I'll get you guys some work, this and that. And he basically kind of like sent us to all these places, like where it was like people that he knew, clients he had, maybe picked up jobs that he didn't want or weren't financially enough money for him to do it. And it was like enough for us. We were just looking to, if we can make, $100 a day, $50 a day, we were like, we were good.
Yeah.
And so eventually we made our way to his dad's house, and his dad liked us and kind of had other work on the side for us, and kind of like would keep us busy doing things like moving stuff around or helping him out, doing whatever. And we were open to it. We were kind of just like, hey, whatever we can do to make some money here and get back on our feet. And I think that, along with, at the same time, we had met and gotten introduced to some people that wanted to bring us to do television. And that part started to get weird for us. I think like I felt like we kind of like got pushed into it a little bit, and we did it because we were young and a little bit naive and didn't know what was what.
Yeah.
And we ended up making a show with the Food Network and hated everything about it.
Really?
Hated it.
I feel like most people would be like, wow. Like,
yeah, I know.
That's such like, you made it. Like, you made it.
I know. And at an early age, we were 26, 25 years old. And it was kind of like, it was just too much too soon. We just didn't I think we realized that we didn't want the fame and the attention. And we also didn't want to be, they were trying this kind of like reality based.
Why did they want you guys to do it? I mean,
because we had gone on at one point, we had cooked for the producers of Iron Chef out here, and
they just really loved
us. They were like, "Oh, you guys,
yeah,
it'd be cool if we brought you guys on Iron Chef." And we were like, "Cool, let's do it." And we went out. We were like, we were just like, whatever, like whatever you wanted. And we did Iron Chef, and I think it got good ratings, and Food Network liked the energy we brought to it, and we lost by 1 point supposedly. Debatable.
Yeah.
I think they weren't ready for two kids to come up there and just smack down one of their Iron Chefs.
Yeah.
And then so out of that came the show. They ran a production company over to LA and basically kind of felt like a forced hand, it was like you were then sort of being told what to say, what to do, where to go, and there's no like, in kitchens, it's kind of like this thing where you kind of can't reenact what happens.
Right.
It comes off so bad.
Yeah, you could.
And you're like, we're not actors. I'm not an actor, and I don't want to be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's not why I'm in Hollywood. I came here to cook. And like it all was just really frustrating, and it pushed us to the point where we were like, we're just gonna go. We need to open a restaurant. We just need to do what we really set out to do.
But like being where you were before, you mentioned the restaurant closed and you had no money, to having the show.
Mm-hmm.
Did that serve as like a platform for opening up your restaurant?
Well, we were catering for a little while in between there, so it was like the time between not having money and like falling out of the job at Chadwick, which was the name of the restaurant that Ben and Govan had together. Between that time, that was a couple years.
Yeah,
before we got the show, so we were saving money then.
So the idea was that we were like
literally we were saving everything we could. We were we were.
But you were going to save up and just invest in yourself and not have an outside partner.
Mm-hmm. And then there was somebody that we were talking about opening a restaurant, and this guy that we had met, and I won't name his name, but this guy we had met was like the typical Hollywood vibe, right? Like big producer, lots of money, lots of houses, all the shit.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'll invest in you guys. And we were looking for a small raise, and in hindsight now to what restaurants cost and what we were looking to open Animal with. And we were going to match it, with our investment. And this guy was like, I'll invest in you guys. I love you guys. And he had used us for catering and basically sent us a contract that was like, I'm going to own your life. We had this lawyer that was like a friend of a friend, like had him look at the contract. He's like,
can you look this over for a second?
Yeah. And he was like, I can't let you guys sign this contract. He's like, you literally have to tell this guy to go fuck off.
Yeah, it's that bad.
It's that bad. And it was weird because it was like we were close to the sun, it was like we were right there. Like he was like already a catering client, and we were like, hey man, our lawyer's advising us not to sign this contract. And he's like, went to the whole thing. It's like straight out of like out of the movies where it's like guys like, I'm gonna ruin you. You're never gonna work in this city again, and all this shit. And it was threatening, But then we turned around and like another catering client was like, John had gone up to his house to go do a job and had told him what was going on. And the guy was like, I'll give you guys the money.
And who is this guy?
The guy, our now investor.
Oh, I see.
Our now
but how did
investor.
you had to also cook for him?
Yeah, we had also cooked for him. It was like all these people came from our building of basically like passing around our phone number.
Yeah.
Like John and I were like, we were cooking from the farmer's market, Whole Foods, we were shopping at, all like restaurant, we were doing everything. We were just kind of pulling from all these sources, and we would just show up at your house and just like cook all the food right there on the spot. A lot of times we were going to, it was like personal chefing, but catering.
Yeah.
We weren't prepping anywhere else. We didn't have a prep kitchen. So we were just.
And what kind of cuisine was this? Different?
Everything. Whatever you asked us to do.
Yeah.
Literally.
And so where did the idea for Animal come from?
The idea from Animal came from, I think, the fine dining side of things, the less ordered items on the menu. Like when we were working for Michelle Bernstein in Florida, like she always had foie gras and sweetbreads, and every now and then she'd bring some other sort of like, wood pigeon in, or like something exotic, quail. It seemed exotic then. And
you guys thought we were going to take the least ordered items.
Well, it was like the least ordered item, but also the things that took a little more care to cook. It wasn't like cooking a steak fillet. It's like, yeah, you cook it in a pan, cook it on a grill, you could sous vide it if you want, blah, 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 blah. It's like, it's kind of straightforward, right?
Uh-huh.
It's like, but taking this like organ meat and turning it into something delicious and desirable is much harder to do and much more intriguing. And we love that side of things.
So did you think that it wasn't ordered as much because it was not that it wasn't something that people wanted to eat, but because it wasn't like prepped as good as you could make it?
No, I think it was just because. No, I think Michelle did. I mean, like
it's just not popular.
Well, yeah, it's just not popular. It was like it fell out of fashion, is what it was.
So we're gonna
like,
take the least popular items and make a restaurant.
Yeah.
Why did your investor think
it
that
fell
was
out
a
of
good
fashion?
idea?
Well, it wasn't really even pitched like that. It was like we had the idea kind of in our heads. Like we didn't have a deck, we didn't have anything like that. It was like we were just like, hey, we're gonna open a restaurant. We're gonna make our food and do it our way and make it in this space. And we're going to spend this amount of money, and like, are you in or you out kind of thing. And, not everything was that crazy, but it was like, when you think about the lineup of the menu, if you had to put all the players in place, it was like, we were talking about like chicken livers, pig ears, sweetbreads, foie gras. We had a steak on the menu. We had something, but it was like, it was covered in, truffle fondue, and like, it was like everything was just like it had a lot of personality,
like you
were
going there because you knew what
you were
different.
Getting. It was like what's not being done in LA? What's not feeling like, it was like I felt like there was like an outline when we got here. It was like chicken, steak, pork chop. Pork chops were like the thing. It was like everybody had a pork chop on the menu. I love a good pork chop, but it was like I felt like it was. A lot of times people are like, I could cook that at home, and like, we didn't want to get into that conversation. It was like, you aren't most likely cooking sweetbreads at your house,
right?
You're not making foie gras loco moco at your house. It was like, we knew that there was something there to be creative with, and we could take a chance. We could take a risk. The rent was low. The build out wasn't too expensive. We had the time and the energy to do it, to put ourselves into it 100%. I think like John and I were talking the other day, it was like, I don't think there was a time for the first 2.5 years where one of us wasn't in the restaurant, and that made a difference.
Yeah. And so Animal you had for 15 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a long time for any restaurant. I mean,
and then a restaurant like that,
especially like that.
I was like, we thought we'd have it for 5. We'd pay off the debt, and it would be like on to the next thing. But that
happens so much now. I mean, I see so many like restaurants that invest so much in like beautiful space, like beautiful menu, like it's like, popping, it's doing great. And then after a few years, it's like, well, it had its time, and now we need to move on because people, maybe it's just like people get bored, or
people move fast.
People move very fast.
And especially if you're not that kind of like everyday kind of place, and your food has more personality to it, I think there's a clock on it for sure, and it's usually a shorter clock than those that make a broader stroke at it. you know,
for sure.
There's just certain things that people just love to eat more often.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just the way it is. And then I think when you get into the trendy stuff, it's like people go to those restaurants and they may be great
when they're feeling adventurous one day.
Yeah.
I'll go try it, but I'm not
will.
gonna. Yeah.
And then they go, but they want to try that place. They want to try your place. Then they want to try their place.
Yeah.
And then there's now so many, and then the press moves so quickly. It's like in these, you know, guides and things and sheets and people and ratings and stuff. And like, it's constant because they need stuff to write about. And then sometimes you go and they can be amazing. And sometimes you're like, they just needed something to write about. So they just threw this place in there. You know, it's like, I think it's like, it's hard sometimes. Like, where's the credibility in that, you know, like what's their experience, you know, like, I don't know if I trust someone that's been like living outside their parents' house for 4 years on like writing guides.
Yeah.
I just don't know. You know, I always love like an older, you know, little bit grumpy food critic, you know, but they're kind of going out of fashion now.
They've been around. They've
yeah. I mean, listen, like when Irene reviewed Animals, she didn't review it, you know, that well. Jonathan Gold definitely set us into another level.
I was about to ask if Jonathan Gold.
Yeah. I mean, I think Jay Gold, like, he put us on the map in LA.
Oh.
Yeah. Like straight up. He was the guy who was like, these guys are doing it and doing it in a different way. And it's good for LA, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what it was too, is like as much credit as we get for really kind of like changing, you know, the food scene or something like that. It's like
also like the locations.
I don't think it's really changing it. It was just sort of like, I think it was giving a lot of confidence back to the city, you know, like that's really, and to the younger cooks and to the younger people out there that had the ideas and wanted to try something themselves. It's a little bit different, you know? And I think like there was a good run, you know, of LA restaurants that were like LA it was like on the West Coast, it was LA and Portland that were really kind of shaking things up, and people were traveling here and coming here to kind of see what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think the pandemic made us a little bit safer.
Yeah.
I think what we're seeing right now is a little bit safer, but we also have had a huge surge in like really high end fine dining here, which has been great. I think good for the city. There's some places I haven't been able to get into myself. You know, Hayato. I'm trying to get in there. I've been trying to get in there forever.
It is on my list.
Yeah. It's on everybody's list. I think
how can you not get in?
Like 8 seats in there.
You can't just be like,
maybe they'll hear this and maybe I'll be able to get in. I've been dying to get in there though. But yeah, the stuff like that, it's just like, you know, I mean, in the end of the day, yeah, proud of the city. I'm psyched to be here and psyched to see everything that's coming out of it. And like, hats off to all the people out there just opening new places. It's hard. Also, it's fucking hard.
It sucks when you see like I had Chef Tim Hollingsworth on the show, and Odeum's closing, which is sad because it's one of my favorite restaurants in LA too.
And he is fierce talent.
Oh yeah,
fierce talent. Like
that's why it's such a bummer to see that.
You know? Dying breed. I say to some of these guys that like worked in these restaurants at that level for that long, like people just don't have the dedication like he did. You know, he's. You know, Tim's one of my favorite chefs. Love what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Great chef. Incredible. I saw him the other day too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad to see that place go. I'm sad to see anybody's restaurant close.
For sure.
Anyone. I don't care care if it's like some little corner Salvadorian restaurant or Tim Hollingsworth.
Yeah.
It like they all mean something to a community and to people. And these people put money and time and invested their life into this stuff. And it's like, I think the public sometimes, unless they've worked in the restaurant industry, it's like, they don't know what goes into it and what people pour into restaurants. I don't care at what level you're working at or what level you think they're working at. People put a lot into them, you know, and it's hard to see them go, and it's hard to see people lose their money and their livelihoods and investments, you know, in a place that they call home. It's hard.
But it's like, it's still so admirable that you still see people doing it, you know, like when you know how hard it is and you know how likely it is to have to close because it's not working out financially, it's not working out or whatever, you know.
And it, honestly, I think everybody in the business on our side of things, operators and investors and chefs and people that are doing it on their own, like I think that they, you know, the margins are tighter, it's harder to run, labor costs are up, supply chain issues still happen, you know, they're still going on from the pandemic. The squirreliness of goods, you know, going up, going down all over the place, dairy, meat.
Yeah.
you run into anything that has, now chocolate. I don't know if you've been reading chocolate.
Really? I love chocolate.
There's a shortage because I know, but watch, your chocolate's going to go up. And people, all the time, it's like people are like, oh, they're charging more. They're ripping us off. Yeah. Or it's like I don't think anyone's ripping anyone off anywhere. Restaurants and food and groceries should all be more expensive. Everywhere, not just my stuff, everybody. Mm-hmm. Like the margins are so small for everyone out there doing it. And chocolates is going to be the new one that you're going to see like higher end, better chocolate. You're going to see go up a lot because there's a shortage because the crops, because of weather patterns and climate change and all that stuff. It affects the crops, and then shipping costs more money. There's so many factors into getting that thing in front of you. To getting the chicken parm in front of you, to getting the chocolate bar in front of you, whatever it is, making juice. I don't care. It's like food space is an incredibly hard space to work in.
Feeling stressed, struggling to sleep at night, or just need a little health boost? Look no further than Magnesium Breakthrough from BioOptimizers. It's the only supplement on the market that combines seven types of magnesium in one bottle, each with unique benefits for your body. Whether you need help with muscle recovery, heart health, or energy production, Magnesium Breakthrough has you covered. Plus, it's all natural, vegan, and gluten-free. Head to biooptimizers.com/founderhour and use the code FOUNDERHOUR for 10% off your order. Don't miss out on the number one selling magnesium supplement.
At what point did you decide you want to? I think you guys bought a supermarket, a market, like a grocery market.
We acquired Cookbook during the pandemic from the original founders. They moved to New York, and they had sort of had their time with it, and we wanted to sort of see it through and see if we could kind of grapple with some of the challenges that they had. And we loved the place. We didn't want to see it go anywhere, and I think the community loved it so much that we didn't really want to see it go anywhere. But I would say that it's challenged us more than what we thought.
Yeah,
it's been a real run for us, honestly. To be 100% transparent with you.
And so you bought one location and then expanded,
well,
or
no,
bought
they
all
had
three?
Two. They had two. They had two, and then we expanded one into Larchmont. And it's almost like the clientele's so different on Larchmont than it is on the east side, where Highland Park and Echo Park are. Mm-hmm. And adjusting the needs and the desires from each has been really challenging for us. Staff stuff's been a little bit hard for us there. It's been a tough go, to be 100% honest with you. I mean, it's an amazing place,
and
an amazing sort of concept. Grocery business is hard. I think like why you don't see across America and around the world, these little markets everywhere that are like this is because they're consumed by, big grocers. Big grocers have such an upper hand, the volume and just the amount of stuff that they can offer in the space, and like for people, convenience matters. And like, they don't want to go 5 places to get things. They don't want to shop here to get that, shop there to get. It's such a very old world mentality.
Yeah.
And we love that about that place. Within that store, you can shop for definitely to cook for yourself and cook for your family or your friends or throw a great dinner party, but it's all really high end stuff.
Yeah.
So how often do you buy a bottle of $25 vinegar? Mm-hmm. It's like you take that.
I mean, Erewhon's kind of working, I guess.
different because it's like, this is kind of scaled down limited. To like, very more niche. It's more niche. Yeah.
Erewhon's
they're going a little bit more,
right.
They're not by any means generic. They've maintained their integrity of who they are. They have organic. I was at Erewhon last night.
Mm-hmm.
They have, all the things, but it's more, if you see the stores, they're more and more prepared foods, more and more hot bar, soups, sushi stuff, juice is huge for them.
A reason for you to keep going at a more frequent level.
Things you consume.
Yeah.
In a day are dominating the space. The things you consume within a couple of days are dominating the space. The things that you buy and sit in your pantry are less and less. They give less and less space to those.
Yeah.
The other side of Erewhon too is they have all that the supplement stuff,
Mhm.
which is just wild. So it's like a health food store
Mhm.
mixed with, you know, convenience, and somewhere in there they're using good product, and they have high volume. The
Mhm.
stores are big enough where they can like pump through the volume, but it's like every year. I live by the one on Beverly, and like
Yep.
it's more and more that space gets taken up by things that are, you eat that hot bar food right then and there, and then you'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. So it's sort of like this grocery store that we have is more of the other side of it.
Mhm.
It's niche. It's like,
Yeah. Maybe you have a dinner party or something and you want to.
flour from Maine that's, you know, a mill that, you know, no one's even heard of, and sea salt from Trapani in Sicily, and you know, it's like it's niche stuff.
I feel like a lot of times some of the things that you really want to do may go against like the best business practices, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you want to just experiment with things, but maybe people aren't, you know, used to that, or it's not quote unquote like good for business in a sense. Like, do you grapple with that a lot?
Yeah. I mean, well, especially with like something like Cookbook. I mean, you know, Animal, Son of a Gun, they weren't the greatest businesses in the world,
right?
You know, but they're
novel concepts.
They were, and I think like a lot of people don't know too, is that like, I think within just their success, there is success within just doing it and making it. You know, I think like artists, musicians, people, poets, whatever, like within just doing the act of it, taking the courage to do something and put it out there. You know, it's like there's success within that, even though if it's not met with, you know, huge success on the sort of financial side of things, or rave reviews, or, you know, whatever, a bigger audiences or whatever it is. It's like that sometimes comes secondary, you know,
for sure.
But but as you get older and you do need more stability in your life, as you have more responsibility, you do have to think about that balance. And I think right now, what we're seeing and feeling is that Jon Vinny's is that perfect sort of balance for us, where it's like we're doing what we want, we're able to work at it to improve it every day, we're able to create great spaces in design and provide great places for community, and then make money doing it.
Yeah, so like, why not double down?
It does all of the things. You know, it scratches all the itches. You know, it's like I got ideas for, you know, like if I could find someone with, you know, $200 million that just wants to keep opening and doing ideas, and that I could keep moving on from them, I have ideas forever, you know, of opening stuff, but it's like they cost so much money and time to do, and you know, there's waiting and holding patterns that within these things. It's like Studio City cost us, you know, a ton of money, but it also we had that project going for 2.5 years.
I know. Yeah, that's such a great location, man.
It's a great location, but it took us forever dealing with the city and the neighborhood, and like it was really a real grind. You know, halfway through, like, you know, people came in and stole all the piping out of it, and like, it's like people just, they don't, you know, like you said, it's like a Twitter account isn't going to tell you all this. This is right. You know,
I mean, that's crazy.
It's like, there's a lot of background in it. Yeah. The neighborhood fought us hard on the alcohol and the hours we were going to offer it for. It's like, it's so silly.
So, because I was going to ask, like, you know, the locations, like how, because you guys are in like these really interesting locations, all of your places, not just Jon and Vinny's, but even like the cookbook and all that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like places that maybe are, I don't know what the word is, but they're not like the places that all the restaurants are opening necessarily. I know Echo Park now and like Highland Park, they're like gotten pretty popular.
Not the most obvious places
now. Yeah. But like, you know, not to like, but like the area in Studio City that you're in, I always thought had so much potential, but like there's maybe like 1 or 2 restaurants on that street. I think it's Tahunga and Moore Park, right?
Exactly.
And then now I drive by and I see Jon and Vinny's. I'm like, that's so cool, because I wasn't expecting that. And then, you know,
like I think we like to be a little bit unexpected,
but then you get, you know, issues with perhaps like NIMBYs, right? People that are like, no, I don't want that in my backyard. You know?
said it. You said it. They're there. There's a lot of them over there. But then there's also just as many people that are behind it, which feels great.
I mean, who doesn't want to be walking distance from Jon and Vinny?
It also is going to, it's going to add value to their homes and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
With being able to put that as part of the portfolio of the neighborhood. There's a great school next to it.
Yep.
I think it also, within what we do at Jon and Vinny's too, is that we are trying to improve neighborhoods. We are trying to make beautiful spaces that anyone can come to. It's welcoming to all ages. It's like, it's really there. And that's what, like restaurants, I think at some level can and should be too, is like, they're there for the people surrounding it first and foremost, the community, and then at large you get some tourists and things like that. But, like the Studio City location, I mean, in all honesty, like we're there for the neighborhood only, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's not a tourist destination.
No.
Not Fairfax, we got a good mix over there because you got the Grove down the street, you got Fairfax and what it was.
Plus when you guys opened, and
it's shifting a little bit right now. Fairfax is going to try to find itself again, I think, like after Supreme left, Animal closed.
You think it'll
Golden
find itself
State
in streetwear or like...
I don't know if it's going to take a streetwear turn.
Maybe a restaurant turn? I mean, you got Bad Mash right next to you guys.
Yeah, Bad Mash. I'm wondering. I'm wondering. I don't know if it's going to take a turn towards like the Abbott Kinney vibe, like a little bit bigger brands coming in, national brands.
Like the Aesops and the Lalabos. And
I don't know if it's going to kind of bring that Grove culture down that direction. I don't know that, or if it's, I don't know if the landlords are getting too greedy and asking too much for their spaces, because a younger person needs to feel confident about the risk they're about to take financially.
Yeah.
So I don't know if some of these spaces only feel good to Aesop or feel good to
probably, you put yourself
I don't
in their shoes.
I'm hoping that some of that stuff fills in, but like Fairfax, we definitely had like probably a 15-20% in the dining room at all times was tourists. But Brentwood, very much neighborhood. Ladera Heights, very much neighborhood. Beverly Hills, were kind of on the outskirts of it. We're not in the center. We're not like Rodeo and Beverly, so it's like we're more on the local side. Yeah. So same thing. Like Jon and Vinny's Stuff is really, it's a neighborhood restaurant, like it's I think in the beginning days, those first couple of years, like we were definitely like people were treating us like a destination. People were coming from all over, which was amazing, but like we knew we could bring it into other neighborhoods. The food that we offer is everyday stuff. So,
and was that like, the tourists and all that, was that from like word of mouth, just people telling each other, or was there like this like big like media PR situation where people found out about it?
We've never had PR. We've never, I think some days maybe we wish we did, and then some days it's fine, like we've gotten.
Well, hopefully it's always good PR, not.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's bad stuff. I mean, it's part of the journey. There's always going to be someone out there that hates you. It's like I think at a certain point, if you get enough people that are against you or hate you, it's like you've done something right, probably.
Yeah, if they're taking the energy out of their day to hate on you.
Yeah, probably. Exactly. So we're okay with it. It happens, and then then there's the California side of things where there's the employee friendly state makes it hard. I mean, it's like you look at somebody the wrong way and you're in a lawsuit, kind of thing. Yeah. And that's an unfortunate side of doing business in California. It's kind of like a pay to play kind of state.
Yeah.
We're also in one of the largest economies in the world. Mm-hmm. So there's this constant back and forth on this stuff, Do
you guys have plans to expand out of California?
We've been trying.
New York, maybe?
We've been trying. We've looked at New York. We've looked at Miami. We actually had some stuff lined up in Miami that fell through.
What about Chicago?
We might come back around on Miami.
Yeah.
Don't have any full confirmations on that, but it might come around this season. So, Miami, and then Chicago. Love Chicago. Haven't given it much attention. Okay. Love it though.
I was there like last year sometime.
Yeah.
For first time, and I was blown away.
Oh yeah. The food great.
Scene is, Fulton
cracking.
Market District.
Cracking.
It's great.
Paul Kahn's a good friend of ours. Love him. Love what he does.
Love what he's done. Duck Goat out there.
Yeah. Stephanie, she's great. Yeah. The guys from Ocheval and all the stuff that they do.
Yeah.
Sick. Yeah. I mean, it's a great food city. Great. like Americana, you know, and like, I mean,
and
also
and
like
it's like
art,
a perfect marriage of art. Exactly.
Art and architecture there.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah,
not to be missed, you know,
totally.
like
the whole city is art.
Great city. I haven't been in like probably like 2 years.
Yeah.
A year and a half.
I could see it doing really well there.
Yeah. I think we see like Jon and Vinny's could be kind of anywhere, you know, like really could. It's like, it's the, you know, is it the next sort of version of, I always joke around. It's like, is this the next version of Olive Garden? You know, it's like,
yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like,
scale, are we, could we be, you know,
do you want to be though?
I don't know. Jon and I don't get too far ahead of like, it's like in the moment, we're really in the moment kind of people.
Yeah. But I think the
right now what we really want is like, we really want to be with the 5 stores we have here. We really want to be as good as we possibly can.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think like scaling sometimes too fast. I mean, you see so many restaurants.
I've seen it.
Yeah, the quality just is not there anymore.
Yeah, and I think what happens is they get an investor or an investment group,
like a franchise.
And then there's the demand of like they have to return the money, right? And they have to open so many so fast because they've hedged all their bets on it. And then it's like it's really hard to. I'd say the thing that we're focused on right now is the training side of things, because training programs and training and communication of training is such a big thing and focus of ours, because it takes time and it takes thoroughness. And I think like we really want to be good at it and be better at it than we are. It's like a lot of times with restaurants and like, hey man, 2 guys just quit and this person called out and, you know, like I'm desperate. I need to just get people in there. And that's the part of restaurants where you're like, changing that side of things it's hard to do. You can't, controlling human behavior is very hard. And I think like the call out side of things and managing that, our managers managing it and all that stuff. So it's like, how do you have that balance of like, well, what about if you overstaff? Well, if you overstaff and then everybody shows up, somebody's going to get cut. And then if that person keeps getting cut, and then, you know, it's
like an impossible math problem.
It's really hard. And that's why I said, it's like in the end of the day, like no matter how much you hear about it, we talk about it, people go through it, expose it. The reality is in real time, these things do happen and we have to deal with it.
I know you're really focused on Jon and Vinny's, and you know, you recently had Cookbook and all that. Is there anything outside of food that you want to do that you really at some point?
I've been recently I've been looking, my one of my grandfathers was a collected cars, and I've always had the bug in me a little bit, you know, like I've always loved it.
Does your family still have his car collection?
No, I have one that he bought in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. He bought a 57 210, and I got it basically when he passed away. And I've been toying with redoing it, fixing it up, and just kind of having it for a Sunday ride. And also I've always loved old, like the old square body Chevys and Fords, and been toying around with the idea of getting one of those. I don't want any of them to be too perfect, not like a show car.
Yeah.
Like something I could drive around, and if you accidentally parallel parked and banged into me, I wouldn't be pissed off about it. You know, I don't need to create a frustration in my life.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm interested. I love old cars. I love old things. I love antiquing. I love vintage clothes. I love old stuff. I love things that have been worn. I love things that have like a ton of life and texture in them. Like something about that I just have always been drawn to ever since I was a kid.
What do you think? Why do you think that is? Because I think like I'm the same way, but I'm just,
life. I think you feel it in it.
You think it's where we are in the world, or in where we've come with maybe technology, social media. I mean, we could always like blame that, obviously, but consumerism, like something about the good old days. Do you think?
I think people always reference their earlier days as like better times, but maybe it was just childhood in general, you know. But
like Chevy back then, I don't know if they were thinking that they were going to create this like memorabilia work of art type thing. They were just creating the best car they can make for the time. And then now we look at it and like, wow, you know, because I mean, everywhere you look is like a Tesla on the road. And then once you see something different, you're like, wow, that's different.
Yeah. It's like, I kind of, some guy like told me, he's like, you know, a long time ago, he's like, Man, these things are like driving like an ice cream cone around. Like it's like anytime you have one in your hand, somebody's going to look at you. You know, it's
exactly.
It's this weird thing, and like I think people just appreciate. People do appreciate, and like I think what you're kind of getting at, if I'm hearing it correctly, is that like things that were made well with intention.
100%.
You know, I think there's so much shit out there in the world.
I don't know where that
fast fashion.
Manufacturing,
consumer goods, whether it's through Amazon. I love Amazon, but
like toys, like when I was a kid,
shit, like all this stuff, plastic.
I remember having like these like Star Wars toys, right?
Nothing's around anymore.
And then I saw one recently, like a younger cousin of mine. I'm like, what is this piece of shit, like plastic thing that, you know, like they were made so well, like all the detail,
now
it's just mass produced stuff,
the artistry. I think like people can see and appreciate those things, and we have people in the world that are trying. Will always continue to try to hold on to these things, and I think like I lean towards loving those people and things more, because I love makers of things. I love people that like do things with their hands, and like I said, somebody does you can just tell when something's made and done with integrity and intention and thought and care, and whether it's a building, a car, a piece of furniture, artwork, whatever it is. It's like I think like I just naturally lean towards it. I have an eye for it. I like it. I'm drawn to it. You know, and sometimes can feel, you know, I think like, I don't know, sometimes it can feel elitist too. You know, I think like there can be this side of it where it's like, you know, there's taste in it, you know.
Sure.
And like,
it's like, you know, there's a
difference between being, it's care and its intention.
There's a difference between being snobby and picky and like you know, elitist to like appreciating good quality.
Yeah, I don't like expensive things for just being expensive.
Right. Exactly.
I don't need. I'm not the type of person that like. I like Gucci, but I don't. There's certain things that they make that I really love.
You're gonna be dripped out.
I love some Gucci. Of the old. Yeah, I would probably. You won't see me show up in the full. I mean, listen. Some people love it. Makes them feel confident. I get it. It's like, but it's. I don't like it to show that there's.
It's the subtle things.
There's money in it.
It's the subtle things that are like, oh, that's cool. Like, you know, he's wearing like a Gucci socks or something.
I'd rather pay $200 for a vintage shirt that's perfect for me. It fits me in a way that feels really good, than I would like a $200 Gucci shirt. That's just what I value personally.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everybody should do that. That's just me.
Yeah.
You know, like I like old books, and I like, you know, I love a book still. I still, you know, I'm still one of those people. Like I have a huge cookbook collection. Do I use it to cook out of? No, but I love like looking at it and reading about it and like, you know, understanding the story. I love in the food space. I love the I wish if I could take more time in my life to do something, I would study more history of the foodways, of like the way things ended up where they are and why they're there and how they got there and who brought them there. And there's so many stories behind all of that within the recipes of like just the ingredients alone, how they ended up somewhere, you know. I think that stuff's really interesting. And then I'd say art is probably my other big interest. And then I take a lot of time.
Paintings?
I'd say as a medium, painting. You know, I love sculpture too, but I say I'm drawn to painting, abstract and figurative. You know, but
like appreciating paintings or actually painting. Like,
no, I don't paint.
Yeah.
I paint with my kid.
Yeah,
you know, he likes to paint.
Yeah. Coloring books and stuff.
You know, he likes to paint.
Oh, that's
he likes to really paint.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
But I think he likes painting because we have paintings in the house, and I think he just like is drawn to it, and he likes art class, and he's like a maker, a doer. He's like one of those people that likes to, you know,
you got to do everything in your power to not have him lose that. Because that is such a special thing.
It's so special. Yeah, he really loves it. If I'm like, hey, let's go out and do this, he's like, I'm gonna do it. Like he likes the dirt. One of the other one doesn't. You know, they're like, I want a dirt bike. I want to make paintings. I want to go skateboard. Like I love that side of it, being a child.
Get off your phone, man.
Child,
do your thing.
That'll always be there, you know. And it's like technology is a part of their life. It's not that it won't be. You know, it's like we're not parenting like that. But it's like it's in their life. But it's like it can't consume their whole life. It can't just be like video games, iPads. It's like I'm not trying to like not pay attention to my kids.
Yeah.
But I'd say art is the other thing I'm kind of passionate about and into.
Any like specific artist or type of art?
I'd say
abstract. You said.
I'd say probably one of my
Rothko, maybe.
No, I love a Rothko. Yeah. I've been lucky enough to go to the Rothko Chapel for a wedding, which was incredible.
Nice. That's in
Houston.
Houston, that's right.
Houston. Yeah, it was a long time ago, but it was great.
Yeah. That's the very minimalist.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I just think that art, I don't know, art sometimes like it does a lot for some people and it does nothing for other people, you know? Yeah. But I love that like works of art can draw so many people in, whether they can collect it or not, they just appreciate it. Yeah. You know, I love that. You go to the Met, you go to the Broad, and you see these lines of people, and like it's amazing that like, you know, I've actually wanted to go see the Mickalene Thomas at the Broad. I've seen the banners up and down the road.
Yeah.
Looks cool. She's a great artist. Yeah. Probably one of my favorite sort of modern, sort of contemporary painters is this guy named Lenz Gerk.
Okay.
Love the work. Fantastic painter. Hard to buy the work, hard to get the work. But it's beautiful stuff. And has like an old Eastern European feel to it.
Pick it up.
Yeah. Somebody that I know personally here in LA, Adam Alisi, great painter as well. Big fan, friend.
Yeah.
You know, Jonas, back to Jon and Vinny's, Jonas Wood and Shio Kusaka have art in our restaurants and all the Jon and Vinny's. Shio Kusaka makes the sconces that are on the walls.
Okay. Yeah.
After the first one, we learned we have to move them up a little higher because people want to touch them all the time.
Yeah.
You know, people just don't even know.
Hey man, that's art. That's not just a scone.
It's real art too. Like she's one of the best sculptors, ceramicists that are in the world. So shout out to Shio, and then Jonas, her husband, is an amazing contemporary painter, artist. You know, they're both represented by some of the biggest galleries in the world, and but they're great artists, and then more importantly, they're great people.
Yeah.
You know, and Jon and I and Helen have been able to kind of foster relationships with them over the years, and like they become good friends of ours, but there's such a huge community of great artists here in LA, and but Jonas and Shio are closely tied to the Jon and Vinny's world because they are kind enough to help us get their works into the restaurants. There's always like a basketball painting or drawing in the Jon and Vinny's, and those are a reference to the old pizzerias that we used to go into with all the sports memorabilia. We just did it in a minimal way and focused it really just on Jonas's basketball sort of artworks that he does. So if you look at Jonas Wood's sort of work, he's, I'd say, more known for his plants, still lifes and interiors. But we were really drawn to the sports stuff because it really reminded, he does drawings and paintings of old sports players and basketballs and stuff like that, and like just always have been drawn to it, and it works great for us in the restaurant as a visual,
for sure.
And he knows the architect, so it's all this huge tie-in, you know. So Jonas always has a basketball in the Jon and Vinny's, and then Shio, like I said, does all the sconces with all those etchings in them. If you see,
I have to pay closer attention. But
pay attention to them because they're all different, and in each store they're different. There's some repetitive sort of maybe some like, I think like you may see a witch in two different places on some of the ceramics, and then you might see like sort of her line patterns that she does, but like they're all original pieces. None of them are manufactured.
Wow,
so they're all handmade.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love that you're marrying all the stuff, the art, the food, the community, the culture. I think I can't think of a better restaurant that's doing that.
Thank you for that. And you can feel it. Like I said, it's the same thing.
Totally
like you feel those things. They're all done with integrity, and they're all done with sort of intention, and all for someone else to enjoy too. As much as we enjoy doing it, they're all for you to enjoy, for you, you know, like literally it's like we make it for you to enjoy, and it's cool when people get it and they see it, you know, and they see that like, oh shit, this chicken cutlet's a little bit different than those other chicken cutlets I eat. You know, it's done with a ton of integrity.
When I find somewhere I really like and like I love, I don't really, I like exploring and trying new things, but it's like I just want to keep going back there, you know, and experiencing that.
Then that's cool. we're all creatures of habit, you know.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
Yeah, to a certain extent. I want to try new stuff, but
well, kudos to you, sir.
Thank you,
Vinny. This has been an absolute pleasure, man. I wish we could just chat all day. This has been wonderful.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
The statements made in our ad reads are for informational purposes only. The products discussed are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before starting any new supplement, especially if you have pre-existing medical conditions or taking medication.